A single drop of blood cascades from the chalice, staining the altar of an ancient church, a miracle witnessed by a congregation that gasps in awe. 15-year-old Carlo Acutis, battling leukemia, feels an unearthly connection to this moment, yearning to uncover the truth behind the sacred event that unites the divine with human suffering. As he clings to hope amidst despair, the question lingers: can the miracle from centuries ago reach through time and transform his fate? But to understand how we got to this point, we need to go back to the beginning. This was just the beginning of the plan. Before we get to the full story, take a moment to subscribe and comment where you're from. Carlo Acutis sat alone in his hospital room, the hum of machines serving as a constant reminder of his condition. At just 15, he fought against leukemia, a foe that drained his energy and spirit. His body felt heavy, like a burden wrapped in shadows. Yet, despite the fatigue that tugged at his limbs, a spark lit his eyes whenever he thought of his passion, the Eucharistic miracles. With a sense of urgency, he compelled himself to focus on the project that consumed his thoughts. Carlo had immersed himself in researching these sacred events, particularly the one that transpired in Bagno di Romagna in 1594. He often explored its historical context in his mind, imagining the townsfolk gathered in reverence, their hopes buoyed by faith. These miracles resonated within him, an anchor in the tumultuous sea of uncertainty that life had become. As he leafed through the pages of his notes, Carlo's thoughts drifted back to that fateful day in the past, an awe-inspiring moment when blood had miraculously flowed from the Eucharist, staining the parchment that would carry its divine message. It was a miracle that had changed lives, cementing faith in the hearts of those who witnessed it. He felt a connection, a bridge forming between his suffering and that historical event, binding him to those who had come before him. Yet, the harsh reality of his diagnosis loomed large. Doctors delivered the tragic news just weeks prior. His time was running out, and each visit to the hospital served as a painful reminder of his impending fate. The emotional strain weighed heavily on his parents. Antonia, a devoted teacher, would spend sleepless nights, her face lined with worry. Meanwhile, Andrea, a businessman with a keen demeanor, found it impossible to keep the facade of normalcy, pacing the hospital corridors in silent torment. Their faith, once unwavering, now trembled like fragile glass beneath the weight of despair. Despite the pain that surrounded him, Carlo clung to a different hope. His research had led him to discover not just miracles, but the power of belief itself. His heart yearned for a profound understanding of the faith that transformed mere observations into the extraordinary. The blood-stained parchment of Bagno di Romagna became more than an object of history. It became a symbol of hope. The juxtaposition of his illness against the vibrant stories of faith found in the Eucharistic miracles filled him with a resolve. Carlo began to see his own suffering as part of a larger narrative, one that mingled with the sacred and the extraordinary. As he closed his journal, he recalled a poignant phrase he had read: "Faith is the art of holding on to things your reason has once accepted." Carlo took a deep breath, inhaling the sterile scent of the hospital room mixed with a hint of antiseptic. He was determined to learn as much as he could, not just for himself, but also for those who had crossed his path. His desire to document the miracles was not merely an academic pursuit, but a quest for connection, for understanding. Yet, there remained a gnawing question that echoed within him. Could the miracle at Bagno di Romagna reach through time and touch his affliction? Could it transform his pain into something sacred? He felt tethered to that moment in history as if it were a lifeline, a whisper urging him on. As uncertainty lingered in the air, Carlo resolved to find out. His thoughts danced between fear and courage, despair and hope. It was an emotional roller coaster that seemed relentless, but he was fueled by a deep-seated faith that perhaps the saints above, particularly one young modern saint, Carlo himself, had a role to play in this drama of life and death. Every fiber of his being longed to discover the divine implications of the miracle, to transcend the boundaries of his illness and find meaning through it all. Just as he prepared to delve into more research, Carlo felt an unearthly calm wash over him. He recalled the passage about the blood of Christ, how it had provided salvation, healing, and restoration. In that instant, he felt a gentle beckoning, almost as if he were being invited to become part of a story far greater than his own, one that involved intercession, faith, and the miraculous connection between heaven and earth. As Carlo began to sketch out his plans, a door creaked open in the quiet corridor, hinting at the arrival of a visitor. Would this person bring further inspiration, or perhaps another thread to tie him to the miracle he so earnestly sought? The weight of anticipation hung heavy in the air, and Carlo's heart raced at the prospect of what was to come next, igniting within him the question that would guide his journey. What if the miracle that changed the lives of others could reach him too? Padre Leonardo stood at the altar, a weary weight pressing down upon his shoulders. The flickering candles cast a warm glow in the otherwise dim church, mirroring the turmoil within his heart. As a devoted priest, he had dedicated his life to the Eucharist, yet recently doubts crept into his thoughts like shadows that could not be chased away. In his 35 years, he had witnessed faith and miracles that filled the congregation with awe. Yet each day brought with it a new twinge of insecurity. One moment he questioned his convictions, grappling with the impossibility of believing in the miraculous. Yet he stood here, alone, during an afternoon mass that felt more like a confession than a celebration. His eyes scanned the empty pews, echoing the void he felt deep within. On that fateful day in June of 1594, everything changed. It was sweltering, the sun casting a harsh glow outside, exposing the cobblestones that led into Bagno di Romagna. Inside the church, the air was thick with incense, a sweet aroma lingering as it curled up toward the heavenly vaulted ceiling. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as the townsfolk gathered for the solemn occasion, oblivious to the extraordinary event that lay ahead. As the priest recounted the rituals of the Eucharist, a growing unease settled in his stomach. What if it was all just symbolism? What if nothing truly happened during the transformation of the bread and wine? These doubts swirled in his mind like a violent storm, clashing against his resolve to lead his congregation with unwavering faith. The whispers around him grew louder, revealing a lack of faith in the ordinary. In that moment of inner turmoil, something extraordinary transpired. As he lifted the chalice high above the altar, a profound silence enveloped the room. A sudden stillness claimed the space, and he felt a strange warmth emanating from the chalice. His heart raced as he locked eyes with the congregation, anticipation vibrating through the air. And then it happened. A drop of blood flowed down, startling him as it traced the rim of the chalice and fell onto the parchment below, staining it crimson. Gasps resonated throughout the congregation, reverence washing over the faces turned upward in amazement. Padre Leonardo witnessed the miraculous blood form itself into distinct letters, creating a divine inscription, a message from heaven, one that resonated with truth beyond comprehension. His eyes widened as faith clashed with disbelief. It was real. The tears streamed down faces across the church, and for a moment, as the ink dried, he could feel the infusion of hope. He stood frozen, struck by the magnitude of the event. It was as if candles of faith had been ignited in every heart, illuminating darkness. And he was the conduit, the vessel through which this miracle passed. But the moment of awe was fleeting. As the days turned into weeks, the burden of that miracle weighed heavier upon him. It seemed to taunt him, a reminder of his inadequacies. Rather than bolster his faith, it threw him deeper into disarray. The cries of the faithful grew distant, overshadowed by his relentless doubt.
Each sermon became a challenge, each prayer an uphill battle. How could he lead his flock when he was barely holding on to conviction himself? It was during one of these restless nights, tormented by his conflicting emotions, that Padre Leonardo stumbled upon Carlo's research. The boy's fascination with the miracle intrigued him. Each syllabus highlighted hope, illuminating what the priest struggled to see. Here was a young man, grappling with illness, who anchored his own faith in the very occurrences that had shaken Leonardo to his core. As he immersed himself in Carlo's findings, he found a subtle connection. The boy wrote with conviction. His passion stirred something dormant within the priest's heart. To see faith articulated in such a deep, sincere manner reignited a flicker in Leonardo's soul, illuminating the path toward his own reconciliation. He could embrace the miracle not just as a dogma, but as a living, breathing element of the human experience.
A breathless surge of anticipation coursed through him. Had he at last discovered a way to break the chains of his doubt? As he studied the lines Carlo had carefully crafted, the priest witnessed the intertwining of faith and intellect. He saw someone who believed in the miraculous while also seeking to understand its implications through reason. This boy was a beacon, guiding Leonardo to a revelation he had yet to grasp fully. Just then, a sound broke through his reverie, the familiar creak of the church door. A figure stepped inside, bringing with them the cool evening air. It was Carlo, fragile yet determined. The boy approached with an earnest look, eyes alight with questions and ideas, a look that sparked hope within Leonardo's heart. Could it be that he would find a companion in this journey of faith? As Carlo began to speak, the words flowed like the blood from the chalice once did, vibrant and full of life. Together they would delve into the depths of the miracle, seeking answers to both their struggles. Each question posed by Carlo had the potential to unravel layers of understanding that could heal both their wounds. As they stood there, face to face, a sense of purpose filled the room. Perhaps faith was not an unwavering certainty, but a journey, a path that weaved through doubt and emerged free, punctuated by moments of divine intervention. For the first time in weeks, Padre Leonardo felt the anchoring of hope pulling him back to the light, invigorating his spirit like the fresh scent of rain after a long drought. And with each inquiry from Carlo, the flames of faith ignited brighter, signifying a new beginning, one that pointed toward transcendent understanding and true belief. What fascinating discoveries awaited them in the convergence of faith, miracles, and knowledge. As anticipation wrapped around them, hope was no longer a struggle, but a promise waiting to be fulfilled. The day of the 1494 miracle dawned bright in Bagno di Romagna, a light so pure that it seemed almost otherworldly. The church stood at the heart of the town, a beacon inviting worshippers inside for a celebration that would change the course of history. As Padre Leonardo prepared for the Eucharistic celebration, he felt an inexplicable presence, an energy flowing through the air, setting the stage for a miraculous encounter. The congregation gathered, each face a tapestry of hope and anticipation, yet the priest's heart was heavy. Despite the festive atmosphere, doubt lingered in him like a dark cloud. He clutched the chalice tightly, its polished surface reflecting flickers of light from the candles lining the altar. A hush fell over the congregation as he stepped forward. The moment felt charged, as if history itself held its breath. As he began the liturgy, an overwhelming sense of purpose washed over him. The significance of the Eucharist began to resonate like a distant echo returning to the source. He spoke the words of institution with conviction, though a nagging voice in his mind continued to question. Would this be a moment of divine intervention or merely a human exercise in tradition? As he raised the host, the atmosphere shifted. A gentle breeze seemed to meander through the church, heralding something profound. At that moment he sensed it, a shiver of recognition that what was about to unfold held significance beyond his understanding.
Just as he poured the wine into the chalice, a brilliant flash of light erupted from the vessel. He staggered backward, astonished, as an authentic drop of crimson blood cascaded over the rim and down to the waiting parchment resting below. Gasps filled the air. The whisper of disbelief transformed into exclamations of reverence. The blood's trail created vivid letters, forming words that spoke to the core of faith itself. "This is my body. This is my blood." Each syllable held weight, resonating deeper than any sermon he had ever delivered.
The congregation fell to their knees, their hearts uniting in a chorus of faith. Padre Leonardo felt his mind whirl, caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty and astonishment. This was no mere simulation of the divine, it was a manifestation that defied natural law. The letters, blood, everything encapsulated the essence of something sacred that poured forth from the chalice of Christ, proving that miracles were not relics of the past, but alive and pulsating in their own moment. He watched with awe as people wept, their tears mingling with faith, an acknowledgment that the divine was among them. As the miracle continued to unfold, he was drawn to the parchment, where the inscription glimmered as if engraved by an angel's hand. Each character radiated warmth, a call to belief that transcended barriers. Padre Leonardo felt as though he had witnessed a glimpse of heaven. The moment became etched in his memory, the blood, the words, the realization that faith can transcend doubt. But as the days passed and the initial fervor faded, questions echoed louder in his mind. How could he reconcile the miracle against the backdrop of his struggles? He felt anxious to share the story, yet burdened by the weight of its implications. Would others view him as a fraud? He poured his doubts into his journal, repeatedly recounting the miraculous event and grappling with the fear that it might not last. It was during this turbulent time that he received word of Carlo Acutis and the young boy's pursuit of knowledge regarding the miracle. The stories about Carlo, a passionate researcher determined to uncover the threads of faith, kindled something in Padre Leonardo's heart. He decided to invite Carlo to the very altar where the miracle occurred, believing that perhaps, together, they could shed light on the communion of human experience and divine presence. Carlo stepped into the church, filled with excitement and trepidation,
as he took in the environment that once held a transformative miracle. The sun filtered through the stained glass, casting colorful patterns on the stone floor, where the congregation had prayed and witnessed the extraordinary. The young boy's eyes widened at the inquiry swirling around him, each step bringing with it a weight of reverence. Padre Leonardo approached Carlo, a mix of paternal pride and responsibility surging through him. "Welcome, Carlo. I've heard so much about your passion for the miracles. I thought it fitting to bring you here." Carlo's voice trembled slightly. "Thank you, Padre. I want to understand everything about the miracle, what it means, how it connects to our faith, how it can guide others." There was an earnestness to his words, a desire that echoed Leonardo's own inquiry. Together they stood before the altar, and the priest recounted the sacred event with vivid detail. Carlo listened intently, soaking in the words like a sponge, eyes reflecting every emotion that surged within him. "Did you feel the change in your heart when the miracle occurred?" Carlo asked, his voice trembling with excitement. "I did," Leonardo replied, "but afterward doubt crept back in, making me question everything. I thought witnessing the divine would be enough to solidify my belief, but instead it left me questioning how to convey its significance." Carlo nodded, his eyes thoughtful. "Miracles can challenge faith as much as they can inspire it, can't they? But perhaps that questioning is also part of our connection to God. It's like searching for deeper meanings within ourselves." The words rippled through Leonardo, illuminating corners of his mind that had remained darkened by uncertainty. Carlo's innocence and fervor breathed fresh life into the miracle, transforming it once again from an event into an ongoing journey of exploration.
The discussion turned from the past to new possibilities as they delved into the theological implications of belief and knowledge.
the way faith intertwined with the human experience. They explored what it meant to see the supernatural in the everyday, to seek the Lord not just in the grandeur of miracles, but also in the small moments of grace that pepper existence. As they concluded their time together, Leonardo felt a burst of energy and hope. The uncertainty that had plagued him began to recede, making room for a renewed sense of purpose. Together they would explore the convergence of faith and intellect, a mission that now felt lighter and clearer than it had in many years. Outside the church, the sun dipped lower on the horizon, casting golden halos against the whitewashed walls. The two joined hands, the young seeker and the conflicted priest, united by a shared belief that the journey was just as important as the destination. The thought reverberated within Leonardo. Miracles were not designed solely to extinguish doubt, but also to inspire questions that lead towards a deeper understanding of faith. As the day's light faded, it dawned on him that their exploration had only just begun, and they would venture forth into the vast sea of inquiry together, ready to embrace both the miracles and the mysteries that lay ahead. With renewed purpose, Carlo and Padre Leonardo decided to visit the site of the remarkable miracle in Bagno di Romagna. They hoped to unearth not only the history that lay within the stones of the church, but also the heart of the miracle itself, a fusion of faith, history, and humanity that beckoned them to explore. The journey seemed a pilgrimage, encapsulated by the lush Italian countryside stretching effortlessly before them. Fields of wildflowers danced in the breeze, framing their path as they navigated winding roads that twisted and turned like the thoughts in their minds. Carlo's excitement bubbled forth,
his youthful energy infusing every step with anticipation. "Imagine the faces of the people who witnessed it," Carlo exclaimed, eyes alight with wonder. "Can you feel their hope and faith? They must have believed that something extraordinary was happening." "Yes," Padre Leonardo replied, reflecting on the congregation he had stood before that fateful day. It was as if a candle had been lit in each heart that moment. Their faith surged, and it filled the air like the scent of incense. As they arrived at the church, the weight of its history enveloped them. Carlo ran his fingers over the cool stone exterior, tracing the weathered marks etched by time. Every crevice whispered stories of devotion, the ghosts of prayer lingering in the air, as if the very walls bore witness to centuries of struggles and triumphs. He felt a stirring in his heart, amplifying his commitment to understanding the miracle and its implications. Inside, the space echoed with the soft hush of reverence. The altar stood prominently, the scene of the remarkable miracle that had altered countless lives, including their own. Carlo's gaze was drawn to the spot where the blood had dripped onto the parchment, the event itself still vibrating through the years. "Can we pray here?" he asked, his voice a mere whisper, as if he feared to disturb the sanctity of the moment. Padre Leonardo nodded, and they both knelt at the altar, heads bowed. Carlo's heart raced, each pulse resonating with the legacy of the day he had longed to understand. As he prayed, he implored the heavens for clarity and guidance, seeking the wisdom to decipher the divine inscription that had graced this very place. With that prayer, they began to converse about the meaning behind the miracle. "What do you think the blood represents?" Carlo asked earnestly, looking up at the priest, eager for insight. "The blood," Leonardo contemplated, "is a symbol of life, sacrifice, and redemption. It reminds us of the depths of Christ's love, but there's also a communal aspect, a convergence of individual faith acting against the backdrop of something spectacular." "Right," Carlo's eyes sparkled. "It speaks of human vulnerability, yet also resilience. It was not just a theophany, but a call to live in accordance with that faith, not to take the miraculous for granted." As they continued to explore their thoughts, the two men decided to analyze the actual parchment, which had been carefully preserved in a glass case for generations. The handwriting, though faded, remained legible. Alert sparked within Carlo as he noted the transient beauty of the letters, which formed words of profound significance. "This is my body given for you."
They spent hours poring over the text, connecting each letter back to the teachings of the Eucharist, intertwining faith with intellect. "Look here," Carlo said, tracing a finger along the parchment. "This curve in the letter B resembles a heart. Perhaps it's a reminder that faith should come from love. It's almost poetic. Each word carries an invitation to embrace our fragility." Padre Leonardo nodded in agreement, his heart swelling with pride at Carlo's perceptive insights. "You're developing a remarkable perspective, Carlo. It's crucial to recognize the interplay of faith and intellect here. Together, they enhance our understanding, giving us a framework through which to navigate our belief." As they stood side by side, a group of parishioners entered the church, their faces illuminated with reverence as they approached the altar. Carlo sensed the energy shift, the spirit of unity drawing them closer together as they all sought answers and strength from the miracle's legacy. Padre Leonardo took this opportunity to share what they had learned. "Each of you is here because of faith, not just in the miraculous, but in the love that binds us all. While miracles can galvanize our spirits, it's the strength derived from that shared experience that propels us forward." Listening intently, the group shared stories of their own experiences. Sick family members healed, relationships restored, lives transformed. Each tale wove itself into the fabric of the miracle itself, demonstrating how faith acted as a river flowing through individual lives, finding connections that extended beyond moments of astonishment. Carlo marveled at the stories, each remark representing a thread that connected them all to something greater than themselves. There was a warmth that enveloped them, a sense of family that became palpable as they began to discuss how the miracle had touched not just their trials, but also inspired a commitment to carry on its spirit through their actions. Inspired by the discussions, Carlo turned once more to Padre Leonardo. "What if we document everyone's stories?" he proposed, enthusiasm brimming over. "We could create a book that intertwines the miracle's significance with the experiences of those who have been touched by it." The priest's eyes sparkled with approval. "What a splendid idea! It could serve as a testament not only to the miracle itself, but also to our continued journey of faith. Each story would illustrate a chapter of perseverance, hope, and the divine in our daily lives." They gathered the stories, and as they collaborated, they felt the weight of their mission, to honor the miracle and bring it to life through the collective experience of the people who had encountered its resonance. Over the following weeks, they dedicated themselves to the project, encouraging others to contribute their thoughts, testimonies, and reflections on how the miracle had impacted their faith journey. As the publication drew closer, anticipation filled Carlo's heart. He realized the interdependence between faith and experience and how they could impact lives. Each word published would resonate not merely as a reminder of the miracle, but as a living testament representing hope and belief that transcended doubt. And so, the legacy of Bagno di Romagna swirled around them, infusing newfound purpose into Carlo's healing journey. With the light of the many stories illuminating their path, they concluded that the miracle served not just as an endpoint, but as an everlasting source of inspiration, urging them to continue their exploration, vulnerable, connected, and unwavering in faith. The journey was far from finished. It was merely blossoming into something magnificent waiting to be discovered. As the weeks unfolded into months, Carlo and Padre Leonardo poured their hearts into the book, an endeavor that had become a living tapestry woven from the narratives of those touched by the miracle. Each story they collected was a thread connecting the past with the present, binding individuals through shared experiences of faith, hope, and transformation. They designed a layout that blended poignant testimonies with illustrations capturing the grace of Bagno di Romagna, a vibrant place steeped in divine history. Photographs of the parchment, the altar, and the town itself added layers of context, bringing readers along for the journey that had ignited such passion in their hearts. Word spread like wildfire through the community, and soon more people approached them, eager to share their encounters with the miraculous. An elderly woman recounted how her terminal illness had inexplicably gone into remission after visiting the church. A young couple spoke of the miraculous birth of their son, attributing it to their fervent prayers at the altar where the miracle had occurred. Each tale flowed with emotion, resonating with themes of divine love and redemption. Carlo felt invigorated by the stories, each one adding a new layer to their understanding of faith.
He and Padre Leonardo often spent evenings reviewing the submissions, filled with laughter, tears, and a renewed sense of purpose. "Look at this one," Carlo exclaimed one afternoon, holding up a story from a family of parishioners who had overcome seemingly insurmountable hurdles through the strength of their shared faith. "They truly embody the spirit of resilience," Leonardo agreed, his eyes shimmering with pride. "The miracle isn't just a historical event, it's very much alive in how it continues to inspire people. Each testimony captures a unique facet of faith, love, healing, and unwavering trust in God." The thought of bringing these accounts to life fueled Carlo's motivation further, and with every story penned, he felt an uplifting sense of connection, as if the people's experiences were threads stitching him to the broader tapestry of faith. Each individual narrative forged a bridge between their struggles and triumphs, and it was clear to him that while the miracle had begun in the past, it found new relevance in the present through these shared journeys. As completion of the book drew near, they held a gathering, inviting all who had contributed their stories. The community arrived at the church, filling the pews with a palpable sense of anticipation. In a preliminary address, Padre Leonardo spoke passionately about the purpose of their collaboration. "Each of you has added a unique voice to this project, illuminating the miracle's lasting impact on our lives," he said, gesturing toward a table adorned with copies of the nearly finished book. Carlo felt a swirl of excitement and nerves. It was one thing to write the stories, it was another to present them before the community that had profoundly shaped each narrative. As he stepped forward, he looked into the faces of the parishioners, many of whom had become friends and mentors. "Our stories are living testaments to the miracle at Bagno di Romagna," he began, his voice steadying. "They remind us that faith is not stagnant, but ever-growing, nurtured through our experiences and connections with one another." Murmurs of agreement echoed through the room. Carlo continued, "This book is a collection of hope. It's a place where our individual journeys intertwine, creating a narrative that inspires not only us, but anyone who reads it." When the moment arrived to unveil the first copy, tension filled the air. Padre Leonardo carefully lifted the book from the table, cradling it as if it held the essence of their collective faith. As he opened the cover, a hush enveloped the gathering, and Carlo could feel the gravity of the moment. "This," said the priest, his voice trembling with emotion, "is not just a book. It is a beacon, a reminder that miracles are as much about the stories we live as they are about the divine intervention we witness. We have captured the spirit of faith that continues to transform hearts." And with that, the room erupted into applause, cheers resounding as the congregation celebrated the culmination of their efforts. Carlo felt an overwhelming sense of joy. It wasn't merely recognition for his work, but a shared acknowledgement of the miracle's power to transform lives. Every clapping hand was an echo of their united belief, harmonizing faith and experience in a profound way. Later that evening, under the soft glow of candles in the church, Carlo and Padre Leonardo sat reflecting on the day. "I think we set out to understand the miracle, but in the process we've uncovered something deeper," Leonardo mused, swirling the warm light that flickered against the walls. "It's taught us to embrace our vulnerabilities and celebrate the divine present in our lives." "Right," Carlo agreed, his thoughts racing with excitement. "This journey showed me that the miracle doesn't just exist in the past. It's a part of who we are collectively. In the end, it's the stories that pave the road ahead. And we carry that light with us as we continue." As the last flickering candles guttered in the darkness, Carlo realized something extraordinary. The shared stories had not only united the community, but they had ignited a fire within him, one that would light the path ahead. The characters in those stories, artists, teachers, parents, and children, were all testaments to resilience, woven together through the threads of faith and hope they represented. In the silence of the church, Carlo found solace in knowing that the miracle of Bagno di Romagna was not an isolated event, but a living legacy. And every story would continue to ripple out, touching lives far beyond their small community, suggesting that miracles could be found in shared experiences, transcending time and space to empower faith in a world ripe with challenges. With a heart full of purpose and a spirit nurtured by the community's love, Carlo and Padre Leonardo understood that their journey was not over. It had only just begun. They stood on the cusp of a new chapter, one that would lead them further into the depths of exploration and deeper into the embrace of faith that awaited them. Days turned into weeks as the leaves shifted from vibrant greens to warm hues of orange and gold, marking the passage of time and the arrival of autumn in Bagno di Romagna. Carlo and Padre Leonardo, invigorated by their community's enthusiasm and the stories they had gathered, began to explore deeper into the meaning of the miracle, unearthing layers of understanding that transformed their perspective on faith and connection. One crisp afternoon, as they walked through the town, they heard laughter and voices rising from the open doors of the community center. Drawn by the joyful sounds, they stepped inside to find children engaged in a project inspired by the miracle they had all come to cherish. Colorful paintings adorned the walls, depicting various interpretations of the Eucharist. Some depicting the iconic chalice dripping with blood, others illustrating scenes of healing and unity. The creativity was astounding, and the innocence of the children's interpretations infused the atmosphere with palpable joy. "Look at that," Carlo said, pointing to a canvas where a group of diverse figures held hands around a vibrant tree, its branches extending outward. "They've captured the essence of community and growth. Each person represents a different story, a different faith journey." Padre Leonardo smiled, feeling a warmth in his heart. Indeed, these children understand that the miracle extends beyond what we see. It is present in how we care for one another. Their art reflects the interconnectedness of our lives. As the day progressed, they engaged with the children, sharing their own experiences and encouraging the young artists to interpret the meaning of miracles through their unique perspectives. Each conversation was a revelation, as Carlo listened to the children express beliefs that often mirrored the thoughts of the adults they had encountered. It was a refreshing reminder of the purity of faith, unmarred by doubt. That evening, as twilight settled over the town, Carlo and Padre Leonardo reflected on their day. "What a joy it is to witness faith blossoming in the hearts of the young," Leonardo said, his voice filled with warmth. "These children carry within them the promise of future miracles. They'll be the ones to nurture faith in generations to come." "Absolutely, and it shows me the power of storytelling," Carlo added, excitement bubbling within him. "If we can inspire them through our own experiences, they will grow to embrace their own narratives, just as we have." As their discussions unfolded, they resolved to host a community-wide event, inviting all ages to come together to share art, stories, and expressions of faith inspired by the miracle. It would be a celebration of the tangible impact the miracle had on their lives, an exhibition that would showcase the collective spirit of the town. In the days leading up to the event, excitement electrified the air as townsfolk worked together to create an atmosphere of celebration. Banners adorned the streets, and volunteers set up tables filled with art supplies, food, and spaces for sharing. Everyone was invited to contribute, be it through paintings, written stories, or performances recounting how their lives had been touched by the miracle. On the day of the event, the town square transformed into a vibrant mosaic of color and laughter. Waves of people flooded in, eager to participate in the festivities.
Children presented their artwork proudly, parents spoke of their journeys, and as the afternoon turned into evening, a sense of unity enveloped the gathering. With each story shared, the energy in the square intensified, affirming that the miracle was alive in the hearts of every participant. As dusk fell, Carlo stepped up to the makeshift stage, his heart racing with anticipation. He looked out at the faces surrounding him, illuminated by strings of lights and the glow of candles. This gathering is not just an event. It's a manifestation of our shared experiences, a celebration of how faith connects us all. Our stories, our struggles, and our triumphs intertwine to illuminate a path forward. The crowd erupted into applause, and the atmosphere surged with encouragement. He continued, "Let us remember that miracles are not just events in the past. They are alive in our hearts and our actions. Together, we cultivate the faith that sustains us. Let's continue embracing our stories, lifting each other up, creating a space where miracles are born every day." As Carlo finished speaking, someone from the crowd began to sing a song that resonated with the spirit of community and faith, and soon everyone joined in.
Their voices melded into a harmonious celebration, echoing through the streets of Bagno di Romagna. At that moment, under the stars, it became clear that the true miracle lay not just in the blood that once stained the parchment, but in the connections forged through love, vulnerability, and shared beliefs. As the event drew to a close, Carlo marveled at the profound impact the community had made together. Standing beside Padre Leonardo, he felt a sense of fulfillment blossom within him. The journey that had begun in search of understanding had evolved into something far greater, an ever-expanding network of faith, creativity, and connection. With hope in their hearts and a commitment to continue nurturing the spirit of the miracle, Carlo and Padre Leonardo embraced the reality that they had become vessels of change, igniting sparks of faith, one story and one miracle at a time. They understood that their journey would continue, leading them into ever deeper explorations of faith, love, and the miraculous adventure that life presented. A truly deserved lesson. If you agree, please like this video and subscribe for more stories, and tell us what you thought in the comments.